This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Hey, welcome to the show. Here we go. I'm your host, Doug Hinderer, licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is the show where we focus on your marriage and how to move it to the next level, handle the potholes and the speed bumps on the road to happy marriages. So happy to be here with you, happy to help you on that journey. We are still in the season of the Eucharistic revival in the church. It's still going strong. And hopefully, we've all deepened our love for our Lord and the Blessed Sacrament in the past couple of years. Perhaps we're attending Mass during the week a little more often, or spending a few more minutes in an adoration chapel each day, each week. That would be great. Well, what about your marriage? Has it become more Eucharistic? Well, how do you go about doing that? Well, I'm glad you asked. So joining me today, I'm very excited, Greg Schutte. Greg is the director of Marriage Works in Dayton, Ohio. Has been there for the last 18 years. He's an independently licensed marriage therapist, author of a program called Discovering Our Deepest Desire. You can learn more about that at ourdeepestdesire.com. Greg, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me back.
So, Greg, listen, just start off high level, if you wouldn't mind. Tell us what building a Eucharistic marriage is all about. Tell us about that.
It's really about starting with the Eucharist, going to the Eucharist, receiving Christ, receiving that grace. But then he's calling us to go out and love others. And that's where this love of one another is, that Eucharistic giving. And I really think, when I'm talking with couples about this, I remind them back when they were dating. We did a lot of this kind of stuff where we were listening to one another, and we were doing nice things for each other and being thankful, which is what Eucharist means. Yeah. So that's kind of the core of it. And then when we go through the class, we take 7 key areas to really help couples grow in their marriage. Okay. But then we parallel those with these same 7 concepts in building our relationship with Christ in and through the Eucharist.
Oh, I like it. All right. So talk about God's design for marriage.
Well, so there's 2 parts to this. One is, are we growing in knowing? Are we growing in knowing our spouse? Are we not only making time, but really trying to understand the depth of what our marriage means? Do we understand the gift of the grace that comes with our sacrament? Do we understand that, as St. Augustine once said, that the deepest desire of every human heart is to be seen. And that's the beauty of marriage, is to see another person. But it's the same thing with our relationship with God in the Mass. When you boil it all down, it's really about, are we being intentional? Or are we being complacent? Because complacent, we show up to Mass, we go through the prayers. And if you're like me, every so often I'm sitting there, I've planned out my day, but I can't remember what the readings are. Yeah. Because I'm not paying attention. I'm like, hold on. And it's the same thing in our marriage, where we can put it on autopilot. But if you're not being intentional, then it just slowly starts to, erode there too.
Yeah, right. And I think, God's design, right, is, I talk to people about this, and it's like, God didn't design marriage for our happiness, but he did design it for our holiness.
Holiness, right.
Yes, this is our pathway. This is how we get to heaven, which means the marriage is going to contain the cross, right? There's no path to heaven that doesn't include the cross. And so marriages are going to have some crosses in them and some struggles. But it's about our sanctification and our holiness.
And you have to remind people of this, because I have a lot of people that come into, therapy, and they're about, how do we get back to happy? I'm not, when I get home, if she's not happy, then, so we're doing all these things to try and make each other happy. Well, sometimes you got to walk that road to Calvary. Sometimes you just don't get back to happy. You've got to walk together through this. And
see, that's really good, because I think, the world, our culture, says that marriage should be about your happiness. And if you're not happy, well, you've married the wrong person. Okay, you got that wrong. Get rid of that person and go find someone who will make you happy. And so we just keep bouncing from one marriage to the next, the serial monogamy thing.
Well, we have to remind people that it's a sacrament of sacrifice and service.
There you go.
It's not a sacrament of, I get someone to cook my meals and someone to cut my grass. Well, I mean, that's nice. Yeah. But it's really about walking this rough road to heaven. together.
Yeah. And I think, and I know you see it every day in the work you do. I see it too. The most unhappy people in marriages are the selfish ones. The ones who are always concerned about, you're not making me happy. I deserve to be happy. You know, the people who are the happiest in marriages are the ones who have the greatest servant mindset. I'm here to serve, to give, and that's where real happiness comes, is in serving others as opposed to taking what it is that you think will make you happy. We've got some callers here, so let's not dally. Let's get to those. Let's go out to Mario in New Jersey. Mario, what can we do for you? Thank you for calling.
And no, thank you for taking my call. I'm in a situation. I'm a strong Catholic man, and a few years ago, my wife asked for a divorce. Turns out she was having an affair, and all of a sudden, she's the victim of a narcissist abuser, and it came out of left field. You know, in hindsight, I think to make herself look like the nice guy. And I see it's an epidemic. It's happening to a couple of my friends, and I think it's like this new narcissist trend is quite a interesting thing. And I'm wondering if you guys are seeing this too. You know, I mean, I'm sure there definitely are narcissists around, but I think in this case, it's almost like reverse narcissism. You were just saying about being very selfish. I think that's really that's what it is. But I'm just
narcissism is the current trendy term, you know, that gets thrown around all the time. So, Mario, let me ask you this: have you been able to reconcile, or are you divorced or separated? What's your status?
No, she will not reconcile. It was unfortunately, it was a very bad divorce, but I still pray for her every day.
Good.
I'm looking to reconcile, and the kids want her to reconcile. They're 10 and 12 years old, but right now, it's just delusional and blind. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it's God's timing.
Yeah, for sure. Is she still with the affair partner, or has she ended that?
She doesn't admit it, but I'm sure it's still happening.
Okay, yeah. Greg, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when something like this happens, you feel kind of powerless. And unfortunately, Mario, I know that you want to have her back. And I think it's sad when someone really starts to go into themselves. I think that's where, you know, you and your kids really praying for her and really, you know, invoking that help from God and her guardian angel to really move her heart and change her heart. Because that's one of those, you know, you can keep trying to force something with her, but she's just going to keep pushing away. And hopefully through your prayer, things will happen in her life that will, like that prodigal son, go, this isn't what I wanted. Yeah. And hopefully that changes that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when someone's behaving badly, like having an affair, you know, they tend to look for someone else to blame. So it's not my fault. I'm not the bad person. I wouldn't be doing this if you weren't the bad person, but you forced me to do it, or you've made my life so miserable I had no choice. So I understand it from kind of a psychological soothing perspective that she would look to try to blame you for her bad choices. But the question is there some level of truth in what she's saying? Do you tend to come on too strong? Do you tend to be a little cocky, a little arrogant, or a little self-focused? If so, then, you know, do the hard work of saying, okay, I could become a gentler, kinder guy. And, you know, and the improvements that you'll make will, you know, translate into you being a better dad as well. So there you go.
Yeah, and that's really critical, is you really looking at the things that you can do to better yourself, especially for your kids at this point, because they're looking to you in that whole realm.
For sure. All right, Marital, thanks so much. So, Greg, let's shoot out to California to Troy. Troy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Doug. My story isn't entirely different than Mario's on the other side of the country. My wife and I are recently separated. I just served with legal separation notices on Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I knew it was coming. We had an incident just about a year ago where without sharing too much, there was some addiction involved, alcoholism.
Okay.
On her side, some people were hurt, and you know, we kind of had our lives are forever changed since an accident that happened, and very traumatic time. We had a lot of kind of instability, and we kind of created a legal plan and kind of an exit strategy on just how to get out of this very dark time. And I've been wrestling with this concept of is it possible to have a healthy relationship with someone that's not healthy or whole? We had a sacramental marriage 16 years ago. We have 3 children, ages 8, 10, and 12. Are blessed in so many ways, including, surrounding them with a lot of love and a great school. And there were probably signs in retrospect that our marriage wasn't as healthy as it could have been, obviously. Mm-hmm. But some of the challenges we have exposed some cracks, and I put some ultimatums and put my foot down, fighting feelings of codependency, enabling, and mm-hmm. and she checked herself out of rehab and kind of went against a legal plan that I thought made a lot of sense. And I said, well, if you do this and do that, then I don't know that you can make those decisions unilaterally. It doesn't make a lot of sense for our marriage. And so
who actually filed for the separation, you or her?
Her. She gets out of rehab about 6 months ago and says she wants to never reconcile. I wasn't there for her. I said, if you check yourself out of rehab, there's not a place in this home for you. You need to get healthy. We need to stick to the plan.
Greg, thoughts?
Is she unwilling to? Are you saying she's unwilling to do therapy with you or have any type of counsel?
Yes. So, she was a cradle Catholic. I was too. I fell away from the faith for about 10 years. I'm 46. We married 16 years ago. At our age 30, she's 5 years younger. She says that she wants to never reconcile. She said that she'd be willing to go to counseling for the benefit of being better co-parents, but not for the benefit of reconciling our marriage. And so when I was served papers, I said, listen, I beg for your mercy. I wasn't perfect. We made promises to ourselves, to our community, to our God, to our unborn children that he should be at the center of this marriage. I don't believe we've done all the hard work to.
Right, but maybe that's a start. If she's willing to go with you, at least, you don't have to say it has to be for reconciliation, but let's start seeing if we can find ways to at least, talk together, have civil conversations, start talking more. And hopefully she's getting individual therapy for the drinking and things that she's going through, even if it is forced. But you can start there. And if you can find some in ways there, it can help maybe in the long run. I've found a lot of times it's not necessarily narcissism, but it's self-preservation. And it can go to an extreme at times. And sometimes we make bad choices where we use alcohol to numb or whatever. But I think when she's saying she doesn't trust you, just remember, trust is built off of what you know and what you know to be accurate. And so if she's not trusting you, I think what I would really encourage you to spend time with is trying to figure out that root. Where did it start to go wrong for her? When did she start losing trust and why? And this can be really hard because our natural tendency is to fight back. But remember, what I tell everybody that comes in my office, it's about the end game. It's about her and you and your children getting to heaven. So sometimes we have to do the hard thing and really look at ourselves and see what we can do in that process.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg, for that. And Troy, my thought is, what she's saying is you weren't there for me when I needed you. And she's in this really dark place. Her world is just exploding. And she's saying you weren't there for me when all that was going on. What I would encourage you to do, Troy, is think about that. And could you have been more present? Are there things you could have done to comfort her, affirm her, be there for her? And if the answer to that is, you know what, if I had to do it over again, I'd be doing some things different. Then that's the message you've got to get to her. You got to go to her and say, you know what, I blew it. I'm sorry. You were in a really dark place, and I wasn't there for you. And I'm here to ask for your forgiveness because I could have, should have done a better job. If you can truthfully say that, that will be, I think, the first step on your road to reconcile with your wife, rebuild your marriage, get a wonderful woman back in, get the woman you fell in love with back into your world and into the world with your children. Because if she can put the alcohol behind her, if she knows you're the safe place when her world's falling apart, that might, you might end up with a wife far superior than the one you married, 13, 16 years ago, right? So
one last thing here too, Doug, just real quick, is that we have to stop, worrying about the blame I know that she's got her work to do and she's got her blame in all of this. But if we just stay in the blame, that's where we get stuck versus looking at the past to figure out what we can learn to make things better. So,
yeah, good deal. This entire episode of Marriage Unhindered is on the updated Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers.